Welcome to Market Crest, and we will focus on fundamentals for the actionable bias and then technicals for our entries. Last week we had so much data last week. But this week we have the CPI inflation data for CAT on Monday. We have so many FOMC members giving their speech too on Monday, and then we have the wage price index for Aussie, the pound inflation, which the market is already pricing in uh, lower than previous. So, or let's look at how it gets to, because this GDP for the sterling was bad, and I think the labor data also was negative. We look at FOMC minutes, we expect volatility in this, and then the labor data for US, I think it should be, I don't know when the shutdown will end, but I think the senators have come to an agreement to bring the shutdown to an end. And then we have the PMIs on Friday. Nothing much for this week, but also the Japanese stimulus. I think they should come into effect this week. I read it somewhere. So with that, we go to the Dixie. Of course, we are technically bullish on the Dixie. Where the bill is, so we expected a push to the upside, and this is an area we expected a push. We had a push to the downside. So on this time frame we are bearish. This time frame we are bullish here. So this looks like liquidity to me. Okay, so while on the 4 hours is bullish or is bearish, as you can see, continuous lower lows, lower highs. So what we expect here is a, I think it should push to the upside, but I'm more or less looking at this as liquidity. Yeah, so that should be liquidity. If that is the case, then I think my high probability setup for this week come to the pound technically for just one reason. We bearish, right? We are bearish on the sterling USD. Why? Because of this is a bearish leg entirely, and I expect it to head up to this point. Now, this is a high probability area I looked for longs, and on the daily we are bearish. Okay, so we are bearish as you can see, but then this is a low and then this is a high. So this is a range we expect. This is the expectation. So if that's the expectation, I expect a push to this point, and then I have this supply here. But remember, the main supply is up here. That there is I consider this first one as liquidity, but I'll wait for confirmation before I can short from there. But looking at it from this angle on the weekly, note this is this range. So this just broke this range. So I expect this first point to be a little break. Then we can see a deeper pullback. And this deeper pullback should be to where? Because this is the only supply area can consider. So now we've understood where potentially price we might be heading to. So if that's the case, we now look at this as our internal. So I expect a push at least to this point. That's market open. On the 1 hour, let's see, we have a break of structure. So this candle already grabbed a whole lot of liquidity. So I believe it should head up there. Okay, so the next one I have is my NU. Now this is bearish on the On the weekly, on the 4 hour, on the daily, it's almost equivalent to the same thing. So I expect a push. The question to where? Going to the 4 hours, where is our supply? I believe all this should be liquidity. So this should, yeah, I believe that should be liquidity. But I don't like that price action. I don't like this price action here. So that's for USD pairs. We still have USD Swiss now. On the weekly, this is bearish, definitely bearish. So this is our low. I expect price to go lower. It came up here, reacted here. We had this massive bearish pin bar going to our daily. So we had this break of structure. So that's a supply area we expect price to head up to later. But then we also have this supply. So if we are looking at continuations, we should see a push down here. But if we're looking at deeper retracement, I expect a short from this other end. Now this is a break, and in this range we are still bullish here. So could we call this a liquidity grab? Okay, so if that's the case, if we push price here, we come back and we did not close below this low, then we might start seeing a push higher. Other than that, if you want to long, just look for a short somewhere. If you want to short, just look for longs to short from that point. So UJ yen weakness is still on board. Looking at this, look at this price action. So the next point we are looking out for is a D1 demand, which it's reacting exactly from. And looking at it from a 4 hours, this is the range. So this is the range. So price came in here, grabbed this liquidity to mitigate this gap, this market gap here. So potentially we might see price push to the upside. So I'm still more bullish on this than bearish. Why? This is bullish price action. So that's what I'm expecting from UG. The reason why I don't like EU is due to one factor. This is bullish. This is a bullish price action, right? So this is, if this is bullish, then on this time frame, look at this. This is bearish. Look, I took this long. So it was a very beautiful one. Now this is a very clean price action. Let me clear all this. This was a beautiful one last week. So this is the price action. This is too high from here. So I believe this is the demand that is holding it. A grab of liquidity from there, a grab to the upside. So this is the only point I'll be looking to short this EU. And that's enough for the USD pairs. Then Swiss strength, of course, I'm looking at Swiss strength. So I talked about last week, but I did not participate in this, so it reacted from there. Now let's delete all this. Price reacted from this supply. So we had that structure change, we have this one, and now finally this is the next one I'm looking at for. So next week I'm looking out to follow up this. Why? Because on the weekly, this is a bearish structure. And the last point of imbalance is that low of previous week. So the imbalance is up there. There is a demand, sorry, a supply here. So this is where I'll look for my shorts. That's a short area for me for Aussie. Now Aussie is strong fundamentally, but I think it's just weak. This is just weak against the Swiss. we go to the yen. The yen is still weak for me. This is bullish, but I'm not participating in that. BTC has been bearish, and it was a good one last week too. So this is it, and we look at Swiss yen has gone too far away. CAD yen also is not, it's not nice. The Euro card looks interesting. Now I was looking to short this, which I took this short, and it took me out on BE, I think partials. So now this price action is not too clean because on the weekly, look at this. I expected price should go lower. Take out these previous lows, and on the daily, look at this price action. This is the break. This is this low. I expected internal continuation, but no, it didn't. So if it did not, this is liquidity that's taking it out. This is supply. But now I feel that supply is actually liquidity from these points too. Why? Is because if this was a high, so this was a continuation area, it fell to close below here. So a lot of people will look to short here. So I feel that should be liquidity going to the 4 hours. Now there is a supply here. This is a supply. I think it should hold. So if the inflation data comes out very bad for the card, then we should see price head higher. You should see price head higher. But if it comes out good, then we might see a break of this point, and then we continue taking price down. Bullish on that. Yes, euro yen is actually very bullish. Looking at this is a beautiful long. D1. Look at this D1 demand. So this is a high, this is a low. So these are our range. I expect price to hit here and then weak and long. So euro yen is on my table, and euro NZD, which we've been looking at it very tactically. Euro is still bullish, no doubt. So I expect a push from here to longs, and pound. Kind of it's weak, yes. So I was looking at the pound Aussie, but this price action is nothing. It's not my kind of setup. Why? Because this is our range, right? So I expect price should be within somewhere before I could short. So I can't short from here. So I expect a push. This should be a supply. Then if I see a trigger, then I will short. The pound card now, I might long this. Why? Because weekly it is still bullish. This is the range we are playing with. And then it mitigated the last point. So if this is our last structure break, and then we consider that a lower low, this is a lower low. So we're looking for a lower high. That's why I'm looking for shots from that point. So if I'm looking for shots from this point, is there an opportunity to long? Going to my 4 hours, can I consider this an opportunity to long from here? Probably. So I'll just look at what the market has to offer on Monday. And then we pound Swiss and looking to short it. Look at this. Looking to short. There is an imbalance here. So it has to come back to the low of this before I can look for short. And this is the area. So if you can see this, this is a low, this is a that's a high, this is a low. So this is the range. I'll look to short from there. And then GN. GN, remember we are still bullish on GN, very bullish. This is the range we are playing with, potentially. So why it's potential is because this has already reacted. Now I expect price to come back in again, or if it breaks higher, pulls back, then I'll look for longs on this to this 2.36 area. NZD card. NZD is weak, but I think card is a little bit weak. So this was the analysis we had last week. So until it gets to this point 0.800, I'm not shorting. I'm not bothered about that. So that's where I'll be looking for short, and then NZD Swiss. I'll be looking for shorts from there. Why? Is because previous candle, this is the imbalance area. This is this imbalance area, and this previous candle is a kind of doji. Looking at D1, this is a D1 supply here. A supply in a supply, so I'll just wait for confirmations, then I'll short. Apart from that, this would be the only area I'll be looking for shorts if price heads up here. And this is not my, this would be confirmation, while this would be a higher probability to short on N Swiss, any yen, based on yen weakness. So we are in this range, right? This is the range, and we've gone higher. So if we push pull back, we will long, but if it comes lower, then we will long. It's quite simple. That's all we've got for the week. Um, that's all I've got for the week.